doing it, doing it, doing it. Busy, 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 busy. Unfortunately, if they're effective at doing that, they come face to face with the problem that they've grown beyond their effectiveness. They now need to delegate what they know how to do to other people, and they don't know how to delegate. They don't know how to manage. They don't know how to lead. They don't know how to grow. And so it is that the vast majority of small businesses struggle, 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 and come to that place in their operation that they finally have to quit. And so the failure rate of small business is devastating. It's absolutely tragic. And what I'm saying and what we have learned over the half century we've been doing the work that we've been doing is that there's no need to struggle. There's no need to fail. There's no need to quit. That in fact, there's a process that every single individual who wishes to start their own company can follow. And if they were to follow that process and to engage in that process, they can design, build, launch, and grow a successful prototype that can be replicated successfully, just like McDonald's did. And so, unlikely as it may seem, we teach people how to create their own McDonald's in the industry they're in. The McDonald's of chiropractic, the McDonald's of legal services, the McDonald's of HV services, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm here simply to share with you and answer any questions that you have regarding that process and regarding that transformation that's waiting for every single one of you. Were you to approach this in the way that we have learned how to approach this, to design, build, launch, and grow your company as a great entrepreneur would, as Ray Kroc did at McDonald's, as Steve Jobs did at Apple, and so forth and so forth and so forth and so on, so that you can stop simply doing it, working your tail off in the job you created yourself for yourself, the worst job in the world because you're working for a lunatic. Pardon my blessed expression of the reality of what it feels like to be doing it. So, Brittany, if you could do me a favor and get me down to the size of everybody.
Yes, absolutely.
So I can see everybody's faces.
Yes, sir. Let's get you back to normal size there.
There we go.
There we go.
Absolutely perfect. So I'm simply here to answer questions any of you have related to the work that you're here to do related to EMIS. And all you have to do is raise your hand and then ask the question, and hopefully I'll understand it and I'll give you an answer to it.
We love it. So we have Wayne who has his hand raised first. Wayne, share your question for Michael.
Yeah, it's not really a question, but I just wanted to say hello, Mr. Gerber. I had the opportunity and the pleasure to work with you when you spoke at the Prosper Show here in Las Vegas, and you were speaking, and I got to do photo and video for you and your lovely wife. So it's a pleasure to see you here.
Oh, wonderful, Wayne. Thank you. Delighted to see you again.
Thanks, Wayne. And what other questions do we have for Michael? Feel free to use that raised hand feature.
Come on, folks. There got to be questions. Got to be questions.
We did have a few pre-submitted as well. So I know sometimes we need to kind of get a little ramped up and ready to think of those questions. So Michael, one of the pre-submitted questions we had was, with all of the innovations that AI has made, do the eMyth principles still remain relevant? Because we've had a few business owners who say, I feel like I can work in my business effectively now that I have AI to help me with so many of these tasks. But how would you answer that question?
Very, very simply, the whole idea of EMIS is how do you grow your company? And working in your business is not the way you grow your company. even if you've applied EMIS or AI, to the operation of your company, as a means to enable you to work in your business, it's the wrong objective. The only right objective is how do you scale your company? Because until you can scale your company, you can't sell your company. And until you can sell your company, you're stuck in your company for the rest of your life. And the reality is there should be no one here who's interested in staying in your company for the rest of your life.
Awesome.
But to get out of your company for the rest of your life and grow it and grow it and grow it and grow it. That's the whole idea. To grow it, to grow it, to grow it, to grow it. And to be able to delegate what is required in order for you to do that. To design, build, launch, and grow what I call your franchise prototype. Got it?
Got it. Thank you, Michael. And we have another question that just came through in the chat. George said, I've retired recently, but want to unretire. Ideas, work for someone else or add value elsewhere.
And where elsewhere, Joyce, do you want to add value?
Feel free to unmute George. Oh, George, you're still muted.
Unmute, Joyce.
There I am.
There you are, George.
Hey, good to see you. Read your
It's not
book.
Joyce, it's George.
Read your book a million years ago.
Hi, George.
Need to reread it. But I've worked for smaller businesses in manufacturing, in sales, doing distribution, doing end users, doing application engineering. I mean, all this good stuff. I've actually shipped and, done the whole gambit. But I retired after I was in an accident a while back, and I'm bored. I am
Of course you
totally
are, George.
bored. I don't want
George,
to hear about
so-
people's grandkids going to McDonald's with them.
So George,
don't
let
wanna do that.
me respond to you very, very quickly, George. So the question is, what do I want to do? That's the first question. And it's the first question everybody's got. What do I want to do better than the way I'm doing it? So George, I'm suggesting George gets to start your new company doing what you love to do in the way that you will love to do it, to grow it. And suddenly you have a dream, a vision, and a purpose and a mission. And for George to have a dream, a vision, a purpose, and a mission gives an immense amount of delight and satisfaction to George's life. George, I'm celebrating this month my 88th birthday. I know you're not 88, George. So to me, you're just a kid.
Okay.
So George, you've got the rest of your life left. What a spectacular knowledge that is. You've got the rest of your life left to do something, George, you've never done. Create something you've never created. I'm speaking to all of you, understand. Alan, Brunilda, all of you, Tim, you follow me. I'm speaking to every single one of you. You've got something left to do in your lives, something you've never done. And it's the something you've never done that's so exciting. Someone once said to me years ago, from Genesis, get me, born in the image of God. And when he said that from Genesis, born in the image of God, it came to me to do what? And the answer was to create. Born in the image of God, to create. And every single one of us, if that's true, we're born in the image of God, which means we were born to create. And the next question that came to me, to create what? Create a world fit for God. I've been creating ever since. I'm saying every single one of you are born in the image of God, born to create a world fit for God. Oh my God, what does that mean? George, you get my point?
Yeah, I've really bounced back and forth between just doing a 9 to 5 thing or actually grabbing the bull by the horns. And I think
George,
you've convinced me I need to grab the bull by the horns.
It's grabbing the new entrepreneur by his horns.
Okay.
And it's not by his horns, it's by his heart. But George, I'm saying it's a blank piece of paper and beginner's mind. It's not because you want to do 9 to 5. That would be the most disastrous thing you could do, George.
Yeah, I think so.
The worst thing in the world you could do, George, would be 9 to 5. You've already done 9 to 5 for the entirety of your life. I'm saying there's something new in George's life. And in the dreaming room, we provide you with a process to pursue it. So I'm going to suggest to every single one of you here, I'm going to send out an invitation to all of you to join us in the dreaming room. The dreaming room provides the first 4 steps of what I call the 8-fold path. The 8-fold path of entrepreneurship. I have a dream, a vision, a purpose, a mission, a job, a practice, a business, and enterprise. That's the 8-fold path. The dreamer, the thinker, the storyteller, the leader, the designer, the builder, the launcher, the grower. The 8 personalities within an entrepreneur. That's who, George, I'm suggesting you come face to face with and meet. He lives in your heart. He lives in your heart. You've never met him, George. I want you to meet him, George.
Good.
Because when you meet him, George, your whole life is going to change and be transformed. That's a promise to every one of you.
Good, thank you.
My
Wow.
delight.
Michael, that was awesome. We have another really great question from Sam. Sam asks, for all of the entrepreneurs you know, what is the most common mistake and what can we do to overcome it?
The most common mistake is doing it. They think that only a business is doing the work of a business. The carpenter is a carpenter. The attorney is an attorney, and on and on and on and on. They don't know how to remove themselves from doing it. And until they remove themselves from doing it, they will not experience what I've just shared with you. The extraordinary zeal of creating something remarkable in their lives, in their world, which every single one of you can do. Every single one of you can do. But the right way, not the wrong way. You got it?
Got it. And then we've got Stephen. Stephen, you have your hand raised. I'd love to hear your question for Michael.
Sure. Good morning, I guess is
Good
where.
morning, Stephen.
Good morning, Michael. Frankly, I've been in love with your writing and materials for the last 15 years. I've read,
Oh my goodness,
I've
Stephen.
read many of your books. I grabbed a few off my shelf real quick so I could just say, I've got to start, but it's really the application of that material.
Oh, Stephen, I don't want to cut you off, but you said something so important. I have so many folks like you, Stephen. I'm so delighted that my books have touched your hearts and minds. But the question that's always left is, but are you doing it?
Yes.
And Stephen, I know what you're going to say even before you say it. And I haven't applied it, Michael. I'm inviting you to apply it, Stephen. It will be the greatest gift you can give yourself. And in fact, you can give the world you live in. To apply it. Because not only will you then have it in your head, you'll have it in your heart, but you'll have it in your soul. Begin to create based upon that. And you'll join me in this path I'm on. In my 88 years, and I don't know what the hell you are, Stephen. What age?
62.
You're just a young man. Think
Just
about
getting
that.
started.
You're just getting started, Stephen. Ray Kroc was 52 when he started McDonald's. 5'2" when he started McDonald's. Think about that, everybody. You're never too old to do this work. Never. If it's in your heart.
So I have a question. Thank
Yes.
you. So I had recently watched you do a YouTube video on the dreamer, thinker, storyteller, and leader.
Yep.
And I've got a business that I've been applying these principles to for the last 12 or 13 years, stumbling through them.
Yes.
And I just heard you mention 4 other areas I had never heard before. Something about the designer. Have you written a book, or do you have a suggestion about where to learn more about that and then apply it?
Of course. In Beyond the E-Myth. My last E-Myth book, Beyond the E-Myth, The Evolution of an Enterprise from a Company of One to a Company of 1,000. But I want to say something to you, Stephen, that reading it is insufficient.
I understand.
And even though you have a business, you say I've been struggling to apply it, you need to be mentored to that process. So email me, michael@michaelegerber.com. michael@michaelegerber.com. Any of you can do that. And I'll describe what it requires for you to be mentored to that process by me, personally.
Love it.
This 88-year-old fart, mentored through that process so you get it down and do it right.
Love it.
You just write me, michael@michaelegerber.com. Michael, I was the one who met you, blah, 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 blah. And I'll respond, and we'll Zoom call, just the two of us.
Love it. I'm
got it?
down.
Okay.
How incredible. What an offer.
And by the way, Brittany, that's an invitation to anybody here.
Beautiful.
You can email me at michael@michaelegerber.com. Personally, I'll respond to you. And if you need help, want help to do what we're talking about here, I'll describe the mentorship that's available to serious people. Only to serious people. Because I am 88. There's only so much time in the day. But to very serious people, and I'll describe how you do that.
Incredible. Thank you for the great question, Stephen. And Jim, I see your hand next.
Hi. I
Jim.
don't know if you recall the last time you were in Halifax, Nova Scotia, but I think it was probably more than 30 years ago.
Oh my
And,
God, Jim. No, I remember that I was there, but I don't remember being there.
Well, it was in the early days for sure.
Yep.
And I have spent my entire career after leaving large industry mentoring people, and one of the key books has been the E-Myth. And in any business that I start right now, the first thing I do is I build an operations manual. And one of the issues I'm constantly facing, by the way, my background here, I've got this virtual background, but it's not actually the house I live in. And it's one of those projects that I took on without knowing anything. I was a log house builder in the 70s, but I bought this house in Ontario. It's a 5,500 square foot house. I dismantled it, brought it out to Nova Scotia and rebuilt it, and me and 4 college kids. And it worked really, really well. Anyhow, the issue that I'm really curious about, because I face it constantly, is people have very different definitions of vision and mission, and they always get them mixed up. And I just like to, hear it from on high, what those definitions are.
Well, let me give that to you. My dream, this is from 1977, Jim. My dream, and this is being recorded so you can get it that way. Don't try to write it down. My dream was and is to transform the state of small business worldwide. My vision was and is to invent the McDonald's of small business development services. My purpose was and is to create the story that will enable every single small business owner who follows my path to do the very same thing. And my mission was and is to lead every small business who's moved by that to do what I've just said. Dream, vision, purpose, mission. The dreamer, the thinker, the storyteller, the leader. Now, as Stephen talked about, but I heard there were 4 more. The dreamer, the thinker, the storyteller, the leader.
The designer.
Designer, the builder, the launcher, the grower. 8 personalities of an entrepreneur. Beginning to understand that, you begin to relate to that in a deeper, more significant way, Jim. And so I can be of help to you in what you're doing and are determined to continue to do, I believe, in a way that will transform it and transform those you mentor and lead and work with.
That sounds great. By the way, I am running to catch up to you. I'm 76.
Well, you're still a kid. I'm 88.
I feel
So-
like that.
So wonderful, Jim. So Michael at michaelegerber.com. You know how to reach me. Just do that. I'd delight to hear from you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jim. And Wayne, you have another question, or a question this time, I should say.
Yes, this time I have a question.
Yes.
Wait a
So-
minute, who's that?
This
This
is
is
Wayne
Wayne.
Wallace, Michael.
Oh, I see you. Hi, Dwayne.
So I finally, in the past month, have come up with a dream and a vision to transform my local photography and video business into a global business that I can help all small business owners tell their story with documentary style videos. And what I'm doing is I'm helping them to learn how to use their smartphones to capture the footage that I need to create videos for them in a documentary style. So my question is, I am still a technician doing the video editing, but at what point do I scale that and start outsourcing that video editing?
Well, Dwayne, one answer would be right now. Another answer would be 3 weeks ago. And obviously, another answer would be sometime in the future. Hear me, you've left something out, Dwayne. You say you've created a video means for small business owners to tell their story. What you've got to understand is they don't have one. They don't even understand why and how and what that story is intended to do. So without a dream, a vision, a purpose, and a mission, it makes absolutely no remarkable sense. So Dwayne, the very first thing you need to do is not to go out with your product, go out with your service. What you need to do is design, build, launch, and grow your enterprise. Which means you have to join me in the dreaming room, Dwayne.
Okay, I will.
So email me at michaelegerber.com and I'll tell you exactly how to do that.
Thank you, sir.
One's coming up in 2 weeks. You're going to have to act fast because I'm going to be meeting with 120 people on Friday to tell them the story I'm telling you and to invite them into that dreaming room. And I only have room for 20 people in that dreaming room. So anybody here who is moved by this has got to act fast. Got it?
Thank you,
But
guys.
that's my response to you. I hope you understood it.
Got it. Thank you, Michael.
My
Thank-
pleasure.
And we have Paul. Paul, you've got your hand raised. Good to see you.
Hi,
Paul, where
Michael.
are you?
I'm in Delray Beach, Florida. I was just curious, what books do you read that motivate you? Or maybe you obviously don't need any motivation now, but I thought everybody does. What I was
I
curious
don't
if
need
you're still reading.
Paul, I've never needed motivation. I needed inspiration. Motivation is a disaster. And especially when one goes out to be motivated, motivation doesn't last. Motivation is an empty vessel seeking an outcome that isn't sustainable. So I look for inspiration. And inspiration comes in very, very rare ways. So I'll share with you several books that have inspired me. But what's most interesting, Paul, is that those books were written a long, long time ago. They're not contemporary books. Just as, for example, the E-Myth Revisited was published a long, long time ago. I will share those with you, Paul, but not here. What I'm going to ask that you do is michael@michaelegerber.com. Hi, Michael. We spoke on, I asked you a question and you wouldn't answer it. Would you please answer it now? Do that. You got it, Paul? Wonderful. And you're in Florida?
Yes,
What
in
I call,
Delray Beach.
right, we call a red state. Not a blue state. You understand the difference, don't you?
Yes, sir.
And what's your last name? Finkelstein?
Finkelstein.
Got it. Got it. A pleasure. A pleasure. Thank you, Paul. Anybody else?
Thank you.
Oh, Sue, no worries. We can take your question if you want to come off of mute.
Hi, Michael. It's
How are
nice
you?
to meet you in person.
Bye-bye.
First thing I want to say is, what's with all the men talking? Where are the girls? Come on, tell a story or something. I want to share my story with you. Many years ago, because I'm chasing you as well, I'm 69. We were a young couple and we had young children, and I had started a little funky business that I sold things at the market, but I wasn't doing that well. And we went and saw somebody who just offered to give some advice. My husband also had his own business. Crazy, 2 people in their own businesses with young children. It's very dangerous, but we survived. That person gave me this book. And I guess I was in my early 40s and I'm nearly 70. It changed my life. I didn't get, the only mentoring I got was this book. I did everything it said. And suddenly I had a business that I could sell. I believed that this business, if I walked away from it, just would stop because it was all because of me. But I did all the steps in that book and did everything you said, and then advertised it, and I got so much interest, and I sold it for me, what was a lot of money. And so although I did grow my business, but I wanted to get out. I wanted to do something else. So I sold my business thanks to you. It was a big help. It then launched me into my next phase, which I then did for, have been doing for 20 years. So now my question for you is, I'm in education and coaching, and I want to know how I can grow that into, how do you say, scale up, when I love the work. So that's also, again, I obviously always work from the heart. But how do you scale up a coaching business and still coach and still
It's
build
very,
it
very,
and
it's
still
very,
work within it?
it's very, very simple too. And I understand you did something, you read the book and you did the book. And that enabled you to sell your company. So if this, then that, if this, then that, if this, then that. One of my co-authors of the E-Myth HVAC contracting firm, his name is Ken Goodrich. Ken's father died. Ken's mother gave him his father's business of HVAC contracting. Ken knew how to do the work, but he didn't know there was such a thing as the IRS until the IRS
Take my moment.
and said, "Oh, Mr. Goodrich, you owe us about $140,000, and we're shutting you down." Ken was flabbergasted. He said, $140,000? How did that happen? And the IRS informed Ken how that happened. And Ken said, how about if we make arrangements for me to pay that off over time? Can I do that? And they made arrangements for Ken to pay off that $140,000 to do that. But another thing happened simultaneously. In Ken's father's library, which comprised only 7 books, the book you held up to was the book he found. Ken had never read a book on business. But that day, Ken told me, he picked up that book and read it from cover to cover. And then he began to do the book. But that wasn't enough for Ken. Ken tells me he read that book, the one you held up, 37 times from cover to cover. Applied it. Ken's company today is close to $200 million in revenue.
Okay.
E-Myth-centric business. So you sold that company, the first company, in quotes, too soon. Don't.
Possibly. I think I could
wait,
have.
Wait, Sue.
Yeah.
Yes, but is a very common response I get when I say something that doesn't match your perception of reality.
Mm.
No, it was the right time because I wasn't happy. I didn't like it, and I might have, and then forget that for the moment. Let me make the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is there's a shift that takes place in your consciousness that is more significant than anything you can possibly imagine. And you got an early taste of it. You described it. You transformed my life, you said, with that book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to share with you that book can be transforming your life right now. But I want you to contact me at michael@michaelegerber.com, because what's needed now is mentoring you through the process of designing, building, launching, and growing the coaching company that you've created to be able to do the very thing you're asking me about. You got that?
I got it. Thank you very
Good.
much.
Michael@michaelegerber.com, because it's very difficult for me to respond to you here with
Yeah.
everybody,
Yeah.
because there are a whole bunch of questions that folks have. And
Mhm.
rather than going in deep into the process with everybody, it's best we go into the process singularly.
Okay.
And I'll
Well,
do that because I see and feel the earnestness in your question.
thank you. I appreciate it.
My
And-
pleasure.
And let's hear from some girls.
I actually have another question from a girl, so I'm glad that you pointed that out. Donna has a great question, Michael. Can you tell us a favorite story, either a success or failure that the group can learn from?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
There's a company you all must know called Infusionsoft. Infusionsoft is a technology company. Raise your hand if you know of Infusionsoft. Yeah. Every one of you should know Infusionsoft. Today, that company's name is Keep, K-E-A-P. You should all know about it because it's devoted to small business, and it provides software to enable small business owners to grow exponentially. But it's a favorite story of mine because the founders of Infusionsoft joined me in the dreaming room a number of years ago, at the very beginning of the dreaming room. They were already eMyth enthusiasts. And they were eMyth enthusiasts because they were systems enthusiasts. But they hadn't heard of the dreaming room. So I invited them to come to the dreaming room. And the first question one of the founders asked me at the outset of the dreaming room, what's this dreaming room stuff? And how does it relate to eMyth? I said, shut up and just do it. In those days, it was a 3-day live event. So Mark, his name, just shut up and did it. At the end of that, Michael, just a moment. At the end of that dreaming room, they came up to me and they said, why is it we never understood this before? We were ready to sell our company. We were tired of doing it. But now we have a reason for doing this so far beyond anything we ever imagined we could do. That company grew from where they were with a handful of people doing about 7 million in gross revenue to where Infusionsoft is today at over 150 million in revenue. From a company of one to a company of 1,000. I want to tell you, you have no idea what's possible for each and every one of you, just like the Infusionsoft guys. So that's one of my favorite stories, and it's happened time and time and time and time again.
Thank you, Michael. That was awesome. And
delight.
we have one more question in the chat. With regards to marketing, with so many people reluctant to answer their phones unless they recognize the number, what is the best approach to designing ads that make people want to call me instead of making hundreds of calls with 2 to 5 actually being answered?
My answer to that question is one you don't want to hear, but don't do it. Everybody wants to market, and I'm saying don't do it because you're not ready to do it. The first thing to do is I have a dream. The second to do is I have a vision. The third thing you do is I have a purpose. And the fourth thing to do is I have a mission. The dream, the vision, the purpose, the mission. The fifth thing to do is I have a job. And my job is my client fulfillment system. And my client fulfillment system needs to be turnkeyd so that I can delegate it so that other people can do it. Because until other people can do it, just like Ray Kroc did at McDonald's, until other people can do it as well as I do it, I can't grow it. I can't scale it. And until you can scale it and grow it, you don't want to begin to sell it. First thing first. First things first. I'll say that one last time. First things first, folks. First the job, first the dream, second, the vision, third, the purpose, fourth, the mission. You got my point? Michael raised his hand several times.
Michael,
Want to
did
answer
you-
Michael's question?
yeah, Michael, what is your question?
I agree with you, Michael, 100%, because I'm teaching the same thing that you do. Not the same thing. I teach 8 billion people one of one. That's scientifically proven, fingerprints, ears, and eyes. And I also teach, but we are also, just look at your family, we have different life perspectives. So for example, for me, I worked with Robert Evans, who did the Chinatown, he did Godfather, I co-produced with him. I was arts commissioner, but I never had any money because I did always what I feel is right. What is me? What is driving me? My inspiration. I'm an artist, and I was in, since March 22, I did 350 podcasts all over the world, and radio and TV. And everybody keeps re-inviting me. But I have zero money made on this 300 thing. And I do it because I want that. I don't care about the money. Second, I love money, but I never had money. I was arts commissioner of a city, and I lived on food stamps because it's the doing is more involving for me than I'm so for when you guys talk about the businesses, I'm so not interested because it's repeating stuff. I don't like repeating stuff. I like to discover, learn, engage people, So I just, and I don't care. I live off $200 right now, and I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm waking up in the morning, and I said, if I'm fulfilled by having a lot of money, what would it do? It doesn't matter. I'm fulfilled now.
Michael, I hear what you're saying, but what I'm describing is not personal. I'm not talking about a personal dream. I'm talking about an impersonal dream. I'm not talking about what Michael loves to do. I'm talking about what Michael is here to create. And I'm not talking about the painting, the product of Michael's genius. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about the Steve Jobs that lives within Michael you haven't yet met. And I'm not talking about the money of it, Michael. I'm talking about the creation of it, Michael. And I'm suggesting, Michael, you have yet to discover the substantial creator within Michael who's truly dying to create something of masterful significance beyond anything you've ever done. Not for the money. This is not a money question. This is a magic question. So I invite you, Michael, to join us in the dreaming room to discover a Michael you've never met.
How do I get there? Also, I'm very neurodiverse. I have to really allow my consciousness to digest what you just said.
I'm suggesting this, a blank piece of paper and beginner's mind. I'm not talking about Michael's present consciousness, which is what you're referring to. I'm talking about a consciousness Michael has never met. Trust me, Michael is not all here.
No, I understand that. I understand that. Yeah. And also I create a lot of stuff. You know that, right? Too.
Of course, of course, of course.
I did
But
6
hear me.
books. I have a podcast. I did everything.
I hear
And I'm
that,
not
Michael.
waiting for other people to discover me either. You know?
Michael, I hear that. I hear that. But don't be too quick to answer.
Okay.
Don't be too quick to answer. Because the answers you're giving me are synonymous with yes, but. Yes, but Michael, yes, but Michael, yes, but Michael, yes, but Michael. I'm saying drop that.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a Michael inside of you that isn't yes, but.
Mm-hmm.
There's a Michael inside of you, Michael, you haven't yet met. Trust me when I say that.
So how do I get in the dreaming room?
Yes. I'll email me, Michael at michaelegerber.com, and I'll connect you with the one who will enroll you in the dreaming room.
Okay, okay.
And I'll be sharing out that email too, along with the recording at the end of this. We do have time for one more question, and Sherry has had her hand raised. So Sherry, what is your question?
Hey, Michael, I have not had the opportunity to read any of your books. I'm just now learning about you. I'm thrilled to be here, and I thank you. I love Alignable. I love that I finally have a voice. And I think Michael's right. I had the opportunity recently to spend 3 years with no one but me and my higher power. And I believe in that 3 years, I was given a gift to reform the funeral industry from profit to nonprofit. And I created a nonprofit to a cemetery society. And I believe I've figured out how to render funerals basically free. And I know that sounds kind of like a huge statement, but it is. And I believe it was all divinely sent to me. And I would love the opportunity to share that with you, Michael. I'm a terrible speaker. I'm not a marketer. I'm just a simple country girl who was given a gift to give to the people.
Harry, I just love simple country girls. More of us could be simple country folks. Something would come alive in every single one of us if we weren't so sophisticated. So yes, michael@michaelgerber.com, Sherry. Email me. I'd be delighted to talk to you. And that's not because I would like to have a funeral free. So at
Thank
88,
you.
at 88, folks might say that's why I'm calling, but that's not the reason. Wonderful. The question you asked is a beautifully provocative question about I'm not a marketer, I'm not a speaker, I'm not a this, I'm not a that. How would I do this in such a way that I could reach out and touch the world in the way that I know I can? So you've created an innovation, Sherry. It all begins with innovation. Lovely. I'll expect your email. Perfect. Well, folks, I'm not going to be here forever. That's not an 88-year-old expression. I'm not going to be here on the call forever. Brittany, was
Yes.
that our last?
That was our last question, and just so excited that you were able to share some of your wisdom with us today, Michael. I will be sharing out the recording as well as Michael's email address after this event. That way you can take those questions to the next level. And we do meet every other week, not always with the privilege of having Michael here live with us, but to really help each other with these business struggles and questions and really come together grounded in the E-Myth principles to support one another. So come back to the group, join us in 2 weeks again. And again, I will be sending out an email with all the information Michael shared today. Have a wonderful day.
And folks, a note, when you email me, acknowledge this is where you heard me. So I can connect you with Alignable. Okay?
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Michael. We appreciate you so much.
My delight, folks. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.